Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Asal Bukhari and I'm for class 9.1. And in today's video, I'm going to be reading a text about an Eci lesson for today. Okay, so let's get right into it. So there's four chapters, so I'm just going to read them one by one. A. I'll never forget the first time I met our new contact from Retrolink, one of our top 5 customers. I had traveled to their office to meet him in person, talk about the history of our companies together, and define a shared vision for future cooperation. I wanted to focus on building a good relationship with him, which would be a good foundation for working together. So when we meet, I wanted to make a good impression and also show him respect. I agreed him with a handshake and addressed him by his surname. When I put my hand out, I realized he had been moving in to give me a hug. So we did an awkward mixture of the two. So when I greeted him by his surname, he responded politely, though he used my first name. It was all a little uncomfortable. In this situation, I guess I made assumptions about the level of formality he expected. He, Although he had never met me before, he knew our two companies had been doing business with each other for years, and he wanted to build on that history by being less formal with me, say from the beginning. The real learning here was from me that I shouldn't assume we all have same ideas about meeting first person for people for the first time. Okay, so the next is B. I never worked with a visual team on an international project before. It was quite exciting, though also was challenging, to work people from different countries, many of whom I would never actually get to meet in person. There were a lot of things that were different about working in the same office, and it was quite challenging at the beginning. For example, there were different time zones, different IT systems, and different local regulations which impacted on what each person was allowed to do or able to do for the project. There were also impersonal differences, such as different ways of working, approaches to deadlines, and when to reply to emails. We wouldn't forget the fact that English was the project language that most people on the team had to work in a language which in their first. A positive of this was it meant for everyone, including the native English speaker, had to make an effort to communicate clearly and clarify their own language and everyone else understanding. To help us get on the same page, we defined communication norms and rules the team would follow, as well as meeting dates and deadlines. We laid out in a document called a team or project charter. This was really useful and in the end project great success. I'm looking forward to working on my next international project. Okay, so next is C. I went through a bit of a rough patch last year at work. I was already committed too much when we lost a team member, though restructuring and quickly became overloaded. This led to me doing overtime and feeling very stressed. My boss was really helpful and she pushed back against unrealistic targets that have been set for our department. She also introduced me to the SMART approach to goal setting. Its acronym SMART. So you use it to create goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. I used this approach to deal with all of the things that were overloading me. It helped me to prioritize some tasks to do later and to drop some completely. I often use this approach now and feel much more control of my time and workload. Have you ever missed a flight or one canceled? I did. It happened to me last week. My flight home from a business trip was the last one of the day. We were not going to be delayed. It's always a risk at the end of the day. In control of my time. Delay. Workload. As soon as they made the cancellation, I knew I had to quickly settle. I hurried back through the airport and was one of the first to make it to the desk. That turned out to be a good idea as there were only 9 seats available on the flight. So that's all from me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.